Guys, Rick Ochi here once again. I hope you are doing well. I'm happy to join you this time also. As usual, at 6 p.m. every Wednesday, we come to you to discuss business, to discuss the startups in Africa, entrepreneurship, and this is another weekend, and we are ready to go. And I hope that you will join us soon. It's going to be an amazing time. We are hosting Mr. Nathan Autry from Data Bank. Is going to help us to know the basis of getting startup funding in Ghana and in Africa. Most of the time, getting funding, startup funding, is a difficult thing. It's a very difficult thing getting startup capital in Africa. And as a result, a lot of startups who have a lot of vision, a lot of dreams, die before they even start. Because if you ask any startup business, they would tell you that one of the things that is hurting their business because they don't have access to funding. And so I chose this topic because this topic is very essential to the growth of startups in Ghana and in Africa as a whole. As a result, I hope that this edition or this episode is going to be very fruitful for you. So we want to get as many people as possible coming live. So I would want you to share the link with your friends, with your followers, and let them come in. Before we bring Mr. Autry on, I want us to get as many people as possible to join us. So if you can quickly do me a favor and then share this live event with your followers, with your contacts, and tell them that we've started, I'll be glad. And so I hope to see you very soon. Let's give some time to get people on. I hope, Mr. Dane, thank you so much. As always, you've been joining us. I think you've been one of the most consistent followers of the show since it started. So I believe that you will get an opportunity to be on one of these days. Thank you, Mr. Jemfi. I'm happy to see you. Let's try and meet up some other time. All right. So tonight we are looking at startup capital. How do startups in Ghana, in Africa, get capital to scale their business? This is a very difficult challenge. I know those of you listening to me, I know that you would agree that getting capital in Ghana and in Africa to scale a business is the headache of most startups. Now, when you go to places like US or Europe, I always say that the economy is built around certain companies. For example, we have Google, we have Apple, we have Facebook. These, for example, Apple's market cap is over $1 trillion. The same with Google. Now, if you look at the history of these companies started, like some started 20 years ago, some 30 years ago, and they have been able to build a capital that exceeds the GDPs of certain countries. Apple's market cap exceeds the GDP of certain countries in Africa. Now the question is, how do we get our companies to get to this level? And if you look at some of the stories of these startups had growing when they started, you realize that if not for a venture capitalist, if not for an angel investor, their dream would have died. All right. If I take, for example, the story of Apple, how Apple started, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, they had a technology, but they needed a venture capitalist to inject that $250,000 as a startup capital to be able to scale a hardware business in US. And they got Mike Makula to join the partnership, and as a result, they started. I have seen some brilliant ideas. In Africa, in Ghana, but these ideas can't scale for lack of capital. All right. So that is what we are going to discuss tonight. I would want you to be part of this whole show, and so kindly send your contributions, your questions, everything. I want you to come tell us your experience, what you experience. If you have any questions, what are the challenges you are facing in your startup? If you do have any questions, just type them in the comment column, and I'll relay them to Mr. Autry when he comes on. But for now, what I would want us to do is to get this live event all over the place so that we can get more people joining us before Mr. Autry comes. But you can start sending your questions for Mr. Autry when he comes on. Startup capital, how to raise funds, how to raise capital from non-capital markets. That is what we are looking at. How to raise capital from non-capital market. I have some serious questions myself I'm going to ask Mr. Autry tonight. I believe you have some serious questions you want to ask Mr. Autry too. We need to focus on our startups. We need to focus on our startups because our startup businesses is the future. Our startup is not ignore. We cannot ignore our businesses, because if you look at the stories that I've just told about companies, Apple, Google, Facebook, if they didn't get that early boost, their visions, their dreams would not have would not have materialized. So I think Mr. Autry is on. I'm going to bring him on very soon. But let's do this again. Let's get as many people as possible to join this feed. You can just do that by tapping the send button, the arrow button, the send button on your live event, and then kindly send it to your friends, your followers to join. All right. So I'm going to bring Mr. Autry on. I believe that I've set the pace for the interview to start. I want to bring Mr. Autry on. I hope that you follow. All right. Thank you, Kwame. Kwame, thank you for joining all the way from Germany. I'm happy to see that you are following. Thank you again, Mr. Jemfi, for joining. I think this is your first time of joining. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you again, Mr. Bean 80. Yes, you've been a consistent follower of the show over since we started. This is the 6th episode, and you've been part of the show ever since. So I thank you so much for joining. Kindly share the link to as many people as possible, and let's get this thing started. All right. So I'm trying to bring Mr. Autry on. Let's see. So Mr. Autry will be joining us very soon. Let's get our questions ready for Mr. Autry. How can set up? Hello, Mr. Autry.
Hello, Ricky.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Good evening. How are you too?
I'm doing great. I've been talking about how startups in Africa could get funding for their businesses, and I believe that has been one of the main challenges of most startups in Ghana and Africa as a whole. And so tonight is all about how to find the needed capital to inject into our startups. But before then, I want us to get to know you. Who is Mr. Nathan Autry? What is your background and what do you do? All right, so over to you.
All right, Ricky, it's great to be here, and it's great to be part of the Reinvent Africa series. Benjamin Nathan Autry is basically let me say a finance enthusiast, or let me say a finance passionate person, where what all I do is I want to educate people on finance, investment, and then try to help them to make good decisions when it comes to personal finance, so that they can have some kind of financial independence in their life. And as in business wise too, you may want to do certain things right when it comes to your funds, or let me say your finances, because business move and thrive on finances. So if you're able to keep your numbers right and well, you'll be able to go the long way to exceed some profit target and all that. So basically that's a little about me.
Yeah. So I also know that you are the founder of Money Read, and you are an investment banker with Data Bank. Is that correct?
Yes. That's very correct. That's very true.
Yes.
I'm the founder of Money Read, and basically Money Read it's a non-profit organization for now,
Yeah.
and what we do is we educate people on finances, personal finance, investment, money management, and any similar topic around those areas. And we are 3 years this very year, so we are still pushing. And I also work with Data Bank as a relationship manager and
Yeah.
try to manage small portfolios for my clients. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we met when we met on the fact that you were an investment banker. I'm an educator. Interesting enough, I've also founded Money Connect. So Money Read and Money Connect, we have a partnership, and being an educator and you being an investment banker, we felt that is a good partnership because financial literacy needs to start from from our schools. I don't believe that anybody has to finish school before he learns how to manage his money. He has to
Exactly.
manage his money right when he's in school. And I believe, unfortunately, financial literacy is not taught in our schools. And that is an unfortunate event. And so people are taught all sort of courses, but they are not taught how to manage their money. And so this is the reason why I believe that Money Read and Money Connect, which I started as an effective tool to preach and to teach on money and money management. All right. So before we continue, thank you so much for joining us, Wafadako. Thank you for joining Mr. J Songs. Thank you for joining. We hope that you enjoy the whole show, but we want you to be part of this show. So before, we would want you to type your questions or your contributions to the comment button so that we can bring you on if it's time for questions. All right. So we want to find out from you what the first question I want to know is how many types of funding do we have in Africa in terms of venture capitalists, venture capital funds?
Well,
Funding do we have available for startups in Africa currently?
well, thank you, Ricky. I think that with Africa, there are not enough funding programs available for startups. You know, the ones that we know from the venture capitalist area is more of the grants that are being given to company startups. You know, so recently Alibaba Foundation did one for Africans, where Africans were able to pitch their ideas, and then some funds were given to them to support. So venture capitalist companies are not much, and those that are in the system are actually looking for companies who have actually been in the system for a while. They have their books right, and then they can see that there's some sort of low risk in venturing into their business and investing in them. So we don't have that much, but we can do better.
Yeah, I share your sentiment because most of the available opportunities for funding is in the form of grants. I, for one, had opportunity to win the Tony Elimelu Foundation grant in 2017,
Exactly.
and to tell you the truth, that is what gave me the boost as an entrepreneur to really scale my business. And so apart from these opportunities that are available for startups, which is very competitive to win, but I also believe that there are some that really need startup funding, but are not able to win these competitions. All right, and so is there any opportunity for these startups to be able to have access to funding?
Yes, exactly, Ricky. For where I sit, and then for the past 5 years, I've realized as an investment banker that there are various means where startups and entrepreneurs will be able to access funding. But before we go into that, I just want to brush through the basic ways of funding that we have in the capital market. So in the capital market, where we companies go there to raise funds to expand their business and do projects. We have the equity side or the equity market, and we have the debt market. So with the equity side, companies are looking at putting out stocks or shares, or basically a layman will say part of their company to the public so that they can invest in those companies and then have some profit, either from dividends or capital gains. And then when you look at the debt side, we are looking at bonds, where companies issue corporate bonds so that they can be borrowers of these funds from the public or from any institution or individual, and then they use it for their project. Now, going away from entrepreneurs or startups can actually access funds from about 5 ways that I have identified per my experience, and then working with some entrepreneurs and all that. Because even yesterday and today, I've been consulting one lady from the UK, and then he wants to start something in Ghana. So he's looking forward to how he's going to make it and then come back home and all that. So you realize that for her, she has been able to use the strategy I call the personal funding strategy. You know, so personal funding strategy, you are actually looking forward to put aside some kind of monies into an investment fund that can run itself and then give you gains, and then you use that money to what? To start it. So that is the strategy she used in gaining his capital so that he can also start something. So that's the first way. So as a startup.
How is that different? How is that different from bootstrapping? The bootstrapping strategy. You know the bootstrapping.
Yes. So
where startup.
Yes. How is that different?
Yes.
How is it different from bootstrapping?
So with the bootstrapping, you are looking at more of piloting your product. You see, you are piloting your product to people so that if they really understand your idea or the service, they can be able to support you with some money. But with this one, you are actually working on the side, to say, and then you are going to put some monies from your salary or from your wages that you earn into a very good and then reasonable interest earning investment, so that at the end of a number of years, you can be able to pick that money and then start with it. And so that is very different from the bootstrapping of strategy.
Yeah. I think that also with the bootstrapping, your setup can be able to, it's a hustle sort of a strategy where the little you have, you can pull it together. Like for instance, when a company like Alibaba was starting, they used the bootstrapping strategy. He told his co-founders, 18 co-founders, that each one of them should pull together a